on the WhatsApp group. I mean, it's a very, very, you know, distressing time for many of us who are working with students. I mean, many of the students and families that probably are in touch with you, or in professional capacity or in personal capacity, would be reaching out to you in terms of what is it that they can do to navigate the current situation that they find themselves in. Not only the current, the student community that is impacted, but even the future in terms of how we go around in this in our country to select students for not only medical entrance examinations, which is NEET, which is the subject at hand, but also other, the larger debate around the need for a centralized admission process for all admissions to all kind of courses that are there. I mean, earlier it used to be JEE, and medical entrance examinations used to be hosted by states in their own respective capacities, but JEE was the national level exam. But now, as we are seeing more and more, exams being centralized, so we would like to have touch upon that subject as well. This is a community town hall. So as Saurabh was mentioning, it's not a Gyan session where only, a couple of our speakers will be speaking for the next 1 hour. We really encourage all of you to come in and engage and share your viewpoints. The concept of community town halls and is that we hear from each other. We share with each other, not only if you have the challenges, but also solutions that you may have in your mind. But yeah, so our two speakers that are going to lead the conversation today for all of us are two amazing career counselors. I mean, Jitin Chawla and Saurabh Nandaji. I mean, both of them are very well known, very well respected, and years of experience working closely with thousands of students, have been actively contributing to TOC over the last 18 months, ever since our inception. And I think are role models for many of us who are finding our way through the career counseling landscape in the country. So we're very, very happy to invite both of them here. And I will invite probably Jitin to go first and start with, the model that I have devised today is first we'll like to hear from both the speakers their view on the problem that is there, because there are many parts to these problems. I mean, it all started with the NEET exam, and then it very rapidly went on to NTA, and whether there was the PG exam that was cancelled for NEET, and then you would be hearing the news today, even in Parliament. There was there was the opposition wanted discussion on this very matter. But so I think it is taking there are a lot of facets to this problem, and I like to invite Jitin to probably start with defining this problem on how what he sees is the real problem here. Jitin, over to you.
Thanks, Ankur. Thanks. And I think, yeah, I've been speaking about it at various forums, and good that we took it up at TOC. So there are two perspectives which I want everyone to ponder upon. One is of course, I would say immediacy, and this is not the first time this is happening. So every year, students, parents, they would somehow receive WhatsApp messages that if you want to clear NEET, if you want a good exam, then approach us and we'll get it cleared with some money. And again, depending on the timing, if you want 1 day before, 2 day before, or 1 hour before, then accordingly the money would differ. So this has been kind of happening around, but this time it assumed a different proportion altogether. So May 5th, the NEET exam happened, and then there was a immediate inflation of marks of 1563 students which had happened, and they were all awarded grace marks. So according to a Supreme Court order, in some exams, grace marks could be awarded, but they had excluded JEE and NEET. But still, NTA went ahead and awarded grace marks. That okay, these guys had a loss of time, and hence they are eligible for that. And this 1560 students were awarded. Subsequently, they were again asked to, when the protest grew and all the channels took it up. So then again, what happened was that They were asked to give the exam again, which happened on June 23rd, with only about 860 students, almost say 50%, slightly more than 50% students appearing. So rest of the students didn't even come for the exam. Just imagine. If they were very serious, then they should have come for the exam again. And then there were six centers: Meghalaya, Haryana, Chhattisgarh, Surat, and Chandigarh. So these centers had complained for complained for loss of time. Then there was a center in Jhajjar where six students got perfect marks, 720. Yeah, and the number of people getting perfect marks also shot up dramatically. Like, you can imagine, in a top exam like this, it will be three, four students who will get perfect marks. But in this case, the number of people shot up dramatically high, which was not possible normally. And then, as things kept on unfolding, Bihar police raided a place, and they conclusively said that, look, there was a leakage of papers, which the center denied. At that time, center was denying it. Then OMR sheet question came in. So a couple of students passed a question, rather they sorry filed a case in Supreme Court that our OMR sheets we want to see so that we can see if our marks are consistent with what we had marked. And then they pointed out inconsistencies also. So that's so this is like, I mean, this is like in such an exam which is heavily guarded, and I'm sure all of you understand that NEET exam, even they prescribe guidelines when you're entering. So you cannot wear a belt with this kind of buckle. You cannot have this kind of a ring on finger. You cannot wear a very large jewelry which might hide a camera. So they prescribe you cannot have a hat or a cap. So they prescribe everything. In spite of all of that, this is happening. So this led everyone to believe that there is high level of corruption. In fact, my first show on Aaj Tak, which happened, there were about 200 students sitting. So there was a guy who was an advocate in Supreme Court and a BJP member also. He was like hounded by students and parents. You can't imagine the way it happened. So everyone got a whiff of it, and there were protests. And I'm sure all of us have been watching on TV how this became one of the most burning topics. With the result that almost every day channels were doing shows on this. Yeah. So and then subsequently UGC Net was cancelled. The and UGC Net questions paper was found on darknet. Yeah. So the ostensible reason was that it is available there. Then the NEET PG was cancelled, and CSIR Net exam was postponed. It was not cancelled; it was postponed. So all this led people to believe that NTA is corrupt. There is some problem. NTA head should be removed. Initially, NTA had formed a committee. To everyone's surprise, the committee head was the person heading NTA only. How could a head of an institution evaluate himself? So it was talked about in media that this is a joke and they're not very serious about it and so on. So this is but one side of the story. All this is happening and so on. Though I tried to raise the other side, but honestly, in the first show, nobody was willing to listen. I'll tell you, I did a small goof up also. So so I try to raise the career point. Is सबसे पहले, like, first of all, why 23 lakh people are giving this exam? You know, so the point is that nobody has told a student who is doing well in ninth and 10th class, especially in 10th board exam, that there are possibilities beyond NEET. When I today morning I was speaking to a group of teachers at Billabong, Noida. I was doing their orientation on how they can use career counseling right from 6th, 7th, 8th class onwards, and we have a quiz of 10 questions. So a lot of times when these 10 questions are asked, I mean, people are able to answer two, three, four, and I've done it at principals meets and so on. So in this case, the moment in the Ashtak scenario, I just went up. I started saying that a lot of people choose and bhed chal hota hai. Somebody in the audience caught it as bhed bakri. A parent who was from a small town, Mufassal town, started saying, हम कल धर्मेंद्र जी के घर होके आए हैं, हमने प्रोटेस्ट करी है, and it took a complete political turn. And आपने हमें भेड़ बकरी कैसे कह दिया? Yeah, it was, I didn't realize that the sentiments were so high that day. There were people sitting in the audience who were giving NEET for the fourth year, third year, who had scored 650, but they were not sure of getting into government colleges. They came from backgrounds where it would not have been possible for them, to take admit in private colleges. Yeah, of course, the same day India Today also was there, so I subsequently corrected myself. But major challenges, everyone is just rushing after the same exam, where you will face, I don't know, 99% or maybe more, say 23 lakh. Okay, say around 50,000 government seats are there, out of which reservation is also there. So, how much is it? 0.5%, approximately 0.4%, let's say. Yeah. So 0.4, 0.5% kind of a result you'll get. So 99.6% people are going to fail in the exam, are not going to clear. Yeah. So first of all, uh, why not career counsel? Why not understand that, look, even if I'm taking bio, I have other options. I can be an entrepreneur in the field of bio, which some of my students have done. I could go for computer drug design, I could go for bioinformatics, and so on and so forth. So we need to explore both these sides. One is this particular series of things, unfortunate events which happen, and second side is career counseling on a larger level, taken up by bodies like CBSE, ICSC, even IB, IGCSE, so that people know that, look, there are options beyond NEET. Second, a lot of talking to parents. Parents orientation is required because it is the parents who keep on seeding their child's mind that this is the best option, especially for a girl child. Yeah, I would say there's a gender difference also in the way a large part of our population approaches this, and they try to push it for the girl child. So I think I have some solutions, but we'll take it maybe in the
Yeah,
next part.
yeah. Thank you, Jitin, for opening remarks and setting the problem in your opinion. Saurabh, may I invite you also now to share your
Sure. So
comments on the problem that you.
thank you so much, everyone, for having me here. And Jitin sir, you set the right tone by very very clearly explaining with numbers what the current problem is, what is happening right now, right? But the thing is, as Jitin sir also mentioned, this is not the first time this is happening. And every year you will find something or the other happening with these national level tests, dates, results, leaks, and so on and so forth. Let me give you a small history just so that we understand why this is happening. So in the early 2000s, when every state was conducting its own exams, there were a lot of discrepancies again. And there was a push for creating more centralized tests. That is when AIPMT and all these things used to exist. Um, the challenge with creating centralized tests is something not a lot of people understand. The biggest challenge is that in India we have multiple state education boards, apart from CBSE and ICSE and now the international boards. You'll be surprised to know that there are more students registered with the UP board than there are in all of CBSE. That's what one of the articles at Career 360 said. That is the number that we are dealing with. So when you have a national test which is based on CBSE and NCERT curriculum and books and material, a state board student from some other state who has not studied in that pattern, in that pedagogy, through that book, is automatically at a disadvantage of competing with the rest of the population who have studied through CBSE. That is why states like Tamil Nadu, which actually I think have the highest number of medical colleges, if I'm not mistaken, they were very against this. Why? Because most of their population is studying from Tamil board or Tamil Nadu board. So how will they compete? Now, in this NTA scenario also, there was one question which was raised that some people said, about the grace marks itself, that there was one question which had two different answers in two different versions of the NCRT book. One of the NCRT physics book in 2018 gave one particular answer, and all the other versions after 2018 gave another answer. Now you tell me, there's a book which was published 6 years ago and it has been corrected six times since, right? How can you actually consider that as a valid argument to give grace marks to somebody? And then again, it is only about the CBSE NCERT book. No state board, no nothing. Where do those students go, right? So the challenge has been this: why can't we have centralized testing systems? Is this because we don't have a centralized state board which can standardize the education across the populations, right? The other challenge which comes up with centralized testing is so again, here I would like to change the lens a little bit, like how Jitin sir, initially described it from the parents' lens and how they are so frustrated with it. Why? Because they have invested 4 years, 5 years, and lakhs of rupees in this particular process so that their child can move forward. That is the parents' perspective. That is the student's perspective. Let me tell you from a coaching institute's perspective. Now, a coaching institute's success is measured by the number of selections, and number of selections can be increased if the coaching institute can bring in some other value which other people are not able to bring in. So coaching institutes on one hand actually standardize testing across the country because they use the same material. So that is the advantage of having coaching institutes. The disadvantage is how many Indians can afford coaching institutes. So if you are a student from a state board, from a remote location where there is no coaching available, and your YouTube also might not be giving you the best content, you're already at a disadvantage. There was another point that sir mentioned very, very rightly. The number of success stories, like 23 lakh people are sitting for some 1 lakh 9,000 seats, right? So that is the ratio of success ratio is 1:23. So that's a crazy number. Do you know that even though there are only 109, 1 lakh 9,000 seats available, number of people who qualify NEET is a separate number? Number of people who qualify NEET means that they can be given a seat in a medical college in India. And I think, and there are so many numbers, so I might be getting this wrong, but this year there were 13 lakh students who qualified NEET. So for 1 lakh seats, there are 13 lakh students available. Why do we have 13 lakh students for 1 lakh seats? The reason is the fee structure. Half of the seats are, let's say, government seats. Okay. So that is an affordable fee structure. The other half are 1 crore, 1.5 crore, 5 crore, and so on and so forth. NRI seats, $60,000 per year. That is $300,000. So we cost more than an American education probably in most American universities. So because most students who qualify NEET are not qualifying the government, medical colleges, and their only option available is a private college, they are not able to go to that college because they can't afford the fees. So then what happens is you have the top rankers, people scoring 660, 670 and all that, going to the best colleges, AIMS and PGI and all that. And then you have the bottom rankers, people scoring the rank of, 10 lakh, 11 lakh, and they getting college seats in private colleges. The middle portion where there is a good student who has qualified but cannot pay the fees of 1 crore, 1.5 crore, is just not, there is no option for that student. So that's another thing that most of us miss. And that is why there is so much policy making challenge around NEET. Now, in one of the messages, I'll just take one more minute around this. In one of the messages that I put on the group, I had mentioned that the number of states and the number of people who actually said that NEET at the centralization should not happen is way higher. A lot of protests are happening. But why do we then go for centralization? We go for centralization because any policymaker who would like to solve this problem wants to solve this problem very quickly without understanding the impact of it to the rest of the population. Again, which population are we targeting here? And that is a policymaker's dilemma. Are you targeting the economically weaker section? And if we just talk about EWS section, there are colleges, multiple colleges in Pune, in Chennai, everywhere, where you will see EWS is basically if you have a family income of less than 8 lakh rupees per annum, right? There are multiple people who have taken EWS seats in private colleges where the fees is 1.5 crores. So if you're not having 8 lakh rupees per annum as income, but you're taking a seat for 1.5 crores, so there's clear corruption over there. So the policymakers, their dilemma is which population to serve here. And that is why centralization is very difficult to do. Everyone wants to do it, but it's very difficult to do. Now, some of the best education systems in the world we look at, Scandinavia, Japan, whatever it is. Netherlands has one of the most complicated high school system in the world. Like you look at the ninth grader over there, there are so many pathways that the ninth grader can take from there, vocational and this and that. It's very confusing. But there is one guarantee. If there is a student who is meant to do something in a particular field, that the system will push that student in that direction automatically. How is it possible in Netherlands? Yes, it's an advanced economy, a lot of years of experience. It's a smaller population, easy to manage, centralized. Is that same thing possible in India with the diversity that we have, with the state board diversity that we have? That's the question that most of the policymakers face. Last perspective is the college itself. A private college who is providing high quality medical education in India is supposed to charge good amount of money. Is definitely supposed to charge good amount of money. Why? How will you get good doctors to teach? How will you get a hospital infrastructure cost? Everything is involved. That is why medical education is expensive in the West. But then, is that the model we are supposed to follow? So these are the questions that hound us. And every year there's a new way of solving it, but we still fall short. Why? Because we are not looking at the very, very systemic questions over here. And I agree with Jitin sir. One of the solutions is career mapping and career counseling over here. 23 lakh students studying biology and going to become doctors. Okay. Do you think all of them have the same caliber? Should they be the same kind of doctor or not? So this is where I would like to start.
Okay, thank you, Saurabh, for that initial remarks and making us understand the problem from your perspective. Both of you, I mean, Jitinji and Saurabh, both of you were talking about, and there are two, three aspects to what you said. I mean, one is definitely the NTA. Is it the right agency, or even before that, should we be having a national level examination for the entire country, which has no relation to what you study in your regular school boards? And as Saurabh was mentioning that, CBSE maybe is favored over other local boards that are there in our countries. I think the second part is, the entire uh, distrust that seeps into the system. I mean, I just want to address that. Jitinji was saying that he was part of many TV debates, and he saw firsthand people were getting very passionate. And when we get, I mean, Indians are very emotional people. I mean, I'd say that we get very passionate. And the moment we get passionate, I mean, sometimes we lose track of the problem at hand. The problem at hand is the distrust in the system. And I was surprised when Jitinji said that, it has been happening for some years now. I mean, people used to get messages in the past also before the exam. एक दिन पहले आपको पेपर चाहिए या एक घंटा पहले पेपर चाहिए. So I mean,
And
this has been happening.
not only for medical, but for all exams. If you want to be a teacher,
This
there's
is
a going.
shocking.
If you want to, this is all exams. This is not only for this. Yeah. And if
Yeah.
you
So
just
this is like a norm.
so if you look go for police constable entry, this everything is, I mean, it is so rampantly available that for a genuine person it is difficult. Second, a lot of people, particularly in smaller towns in UP, Bihar, believe that the only way is to give money and get in. Please understand. Yeah. Second also issue is that some coaching institute, and not now, if I go 20, 22 years back, so there are coaching institutes who have been hand in glove also, including a very large chain, which I would not name right now. But I mean, it was they grew because they were able to organize this thing. So it is very sad, but that's how the situation has been.
No, Jitin sir is absolutely right
So
about
I mean, and the national, I mean, one of the objectives of bringing in NTA was to remove corruption and say that, because corruption used to happen at local state levels, we'll have one central body that will be, conducting these exams without any interference or malpractices, to hire this from the premium body. I mean, NTA was supposed to be our answer at a global level to probably ETS or the global testing giants like ACT and all these people. I remember College Board at one point of time was very aggressive in India. They wanted to come in with their testing services and help, sell their platforms here. But that didn't happen because I know because Indian government said we want to keep control. But if this is the case, I mean that's very disappointing. And second, I mean to have, I mean I from again from a student's perspective to be writing an exam whose sanctity is in question is always, for my life, as Jatinji was saying, for 4 years, 3 years, if somebody is preparing and ending up writing exam and then he hears that probably that exam was already leaked, imagine the trauma that that kid will face. I mean, I see a lot of people writing on Twitter, if you have the money, leave India, go to a better place, find better education, don't stay back. I mean, those are the kind of tweets that I
But I
see.
had to,
Media also is giving. So I feel very disappointed as somebody who wanted always is gungo about India. If our youth is being encouraged to go out and they don't lose belief in the system, I mean that's a challenge, right? I mean, I see that as a big challenge for us.
yeah, absolutely. And so I had to pull back my career counseling mind from the show, from the first show, and I had to start that, hey, catch NTA. There is some corruption happening. I had to, because the audience was so emotional about it. I think there were maybe more than 200 students sitting. All of them had given NEET, and some had got good marks also. Like 670 has been a very good. If last year, if somebody would have got 615, 620, it was sure that you'll get a college, because on the basis of 615, 620, you would get a rank.
Yeah.
And maybe I'll presume maybe you would get a rank around last year, maybe around 7, 8,000. But this year, even with a 650, I would get a rank which is like 35,000, because a lot of people are high scorers. Yeah, I hope you understand. So a lot of people scored high. AIMS has certain number of seats, but the number of toppers is more than AIMS. So the best institute, even after getting perfect score, I will not be assured of a seat in AIMS. Can you imagine the situation? Even if I've got a perfect score, the best institution in the country, I cannot get a seat because number of perfect scorers are more and number of
Yeah.
seats is less. Yeah, it is so funny and different situation, I would say, and sad also, for the reasons you mentioned.
It is.
And a point also came quickly. In China, there's an exam called Goa Cow, which is for going for higher university, where they tested last year about 13 million students. Yeah. So in between, the BJP person was there. He tried to say, and a couple of other debates also on national channels. People said, we have large numbers. We have 23 lakhs. That's why we are not able to control. But look at China, look at SAT, look at so many other exams which are conducted, and perfectly well they are done all over the world with right checks and measures. Only challenge is probably, as Sapnaji also mentioned, automation is the key. So somewhere automation has to come in, somewhere monitoring of each center has to come in, and digital exam is probably the key to handling such a large exam.
That is true. In fact, see, China again is a different situation. 1 billion Han Chinese, so a lot of lack of diversity, I would say, as far as education is concerned. But then again, we also have very good success stories in India. I mean, CAT is done at a very good level. Just yesterday, I think the IIT Delhi director, V. Ramagopal Rauji, he said that why are you still having a pen and paper exam for AIMS when we have moved away from it? You do a prelims and then you do a mains. The prelims is taken care of by NTA and the mains is taken care of by IITs. Every IIT has a JEE center inside them, right? And they control it. Every IIM has a CAT center inside them, and every IIM is given a different responsibility of managing CAT every year, right? Similarly, we have UPSC for all the government posts. We have a very stringent and very very effective mechanism, whether paper pen or computer based, of doing that. We hardly hear of any of those things in those exams. The challenge with setting up a new body, it sounds very romantic. All right, that in 2015 AIPMT was conducted by CBSE. All right, and CBSE being a government authority, so it was conducted, and there were a lot of challenges, and then NTA was being pushed in 2017, right? The autonomy given to that organization is one part of it. The second part of NTA story is who is then acting as a checks and balances. If you look at this organization's history, in 2017 it was established and so on. In 2021 or 22, they were given the charge of conducting a test for Delhi University entrance for their employees. Some 3,000 seats are there in Delhi University. They were supposed to conduct a test. It has been 3 years, and they have not been able to finish the test for 3,000 students or 3,000 posts. Okay, and it is a computer-based test and a pen and paper test, and they've taken the money and everything. So clearly, it is not just about the methodology of the test or how you're conducting it. It is about who's controlling it and what is the standard operating procedure behind conducting those tests. NTA, according to their website, currently organizes some 14 tests. And I think the last major organization which left NTA was IIFT. And IIFT now takes CAT scores. It doesn't, conduct its own test. 2023 was the last time they did that. Now, if a national testing agency is there and it is not able to convince different testing bodies or different higher education bodies to actually use their infrastructure, कि आओ boss, use NTA for your testing. If they are not able to convince the higher education ecosystem, that means there is something seriously wrong with the entire structure of it. Correct. But that doesn't mean it cannot be changed or it cannot be done properly. That means there was some systemic issue right from the beginning. We have authorities which do these things very, very well. How many of them were consulted for this? Right? We conduct one of the world's most impartial elections in the world, the largest exercise in the world. If we are able to do that, this is, I'm not saying it's the same thing, but there are things to be learned from them as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. I
Perfect.
think Ankit, you were saying something.
Yeah, please. Before Ankit speaks, I'll encourage all of you to please share it's a town hall. Please share your comments, feedback, anything, and questions. If you have, unmute yourself, raise your hand. We'll happy to do that. Over to Ankit.
Thank you so much, sir. I was just saying, as Saurabh Nanda sir was talking about the general EWS category. So he has rightly pointed out that the system of that EWS category is just that your annual income should be less than or around 8 lakhs per annum. However, there are various people he rightly pointed out who created by utilizing, as I am just going through the point shared by the Johnson sir. So I'm just going through it. He is right about the point central versus state. So the problem is the central versus state only, because in the general EWS category, if somebody is belonging to Haryana, if somebody has a home at Punjab and Haryana, both the states, okay, from the father's point of view, then he is eligible to, he will get if he has a good connection in Punjab, he will get the EWS certificate from Punjab. If he has a good connection in Haryana, he will get the good connection. That has also been found that there are various number of EWS certificates which are found invalid during the checking or during the audit kind of system by the government of India or by the NTA itself. Secondly, it's not about कि जिसका 8 लाख से कम income है, EWS category has did nothing, to be honest, in my views. The reason being because बहुत कम लोगों को ये पता है, सौरभ सर एग्री करेंगे कि EWS कैटेगरी में सिर्फ 10% सीट्स इंक्रीज होती हैं, एंड 10% अगर हम कंपेयर करेंगे एक लार्जर नंबर से, लार्जर पिक्चर से, इट इज वेरी लेस, very less. In the same way, why NTA is at a very in this big scam, NTA has a vital role, as I have also written that nowadays after the formation of NTA, when we are talking about malpractices, Jitin sir is giving an example of हर एग्जाम में होता है, तो इन द सेम वे इट ऑल्सो हैपन्स विद द पीओ एग्जाम, पटवारी का जो एग्जाम होता है, हर तरीके के एग्जाम में ये चीजें, ये मैसेजेस SMS आउट होना बहुत आम बात है. बट द थिंग इज, सबसे अच्छा एग्जांपल शायद आपने या सौरभ सर ने दिया था कि जैसे हम जेई मेंस को स्ट्रक्चर्ड वे में जेई मेंस होता है, आप देखिए हर साल अलग अलग IIT उसको कंडक्ट कराती है, अथॉरिटी दी जाती है. इन द सेम वे, और जो अभी आपने सर लिंक्डइन पे पोस्ट भी शेयर किया था उसमें भी ये लिखा हुआ था, इन द सेम वे जैसे हमारे यूपीएससी का एग्जाम होता है, पहले होता है एक मेंस का एग्जाम, प्रीलिम्स एग्जाम, फिर उसमें शॉर्टलिस्ट होकर कैंडिडेट जाता है यूपीएससी के मेन एग्जाम, मेंस के बाद फिर चांस आती है आपका इंटरव्यू अगर आप शॉर्टलिस्ट होते. तो इन द सेम वे दैट सर हैज राइटली पॉइंटेड आउट, बीइंग अ डायरेक्टर ऑफ बिट्स इंस्टीट्यूशन ऑफ लाइक बिट्स पिलानी, हैज राइटली पॉइंटेड आउट कि हम इसको कर सकते हैं. But the thing is, why NTA is not ready, and why I am damn sure and I am totally against from the very starting point that NTA is very wrong, formed in a very wrong way. Because बॉलीवुड और टॉलीवुड या कोई सी भी हम मूवीज देखेंगे, इट इज अ वे ऑफ कंडक्टिंग अ ऑर्गेनाइज क्राइम. ये ऑर्गेनाइज वे है करप्शन को करने का. एनटीए ने जो किया, अगर आपको उसका लाइव एग्जांपल मैं देता हूं, हमारे आई वर्कड इन एलन, एवरीबॉडी इज अवेयर, ठीक है. आई वाज वर्किंग अंडर द डायरेक्टर हु इज नोन एज अ वेरी फेमस एज अ मोटिवेशनल स्पीकर आल्सो, मिस्टर ब्रजेश माहेश्वरी. He started visiting Delhi. He is started sitting next to Alaknath Pandey in the Delhi Supreme Court. सुप्रीम कोर्ट में जाके वो रेगुलर जा रहे थे, चक्कर काट रहे थे कि ये जो इंसिडेंट हुआ है ये बहुत गलत हुआ है, इससे इम्पैक्ट गलत आएगा. व्हाट हैपेंड इज, जो जो उन्होंने इंस्टाग्राम पे अपने वीडियोस डाले, he just, I am not sharing anybody's name, he received call from someone. The next day his status was कि ये सब मेरे पर्सनल व्यूज हैं और इसमें एलन का या किसी भी व्यक्ति का कोई लेना देना नहीं है. तो आप सोचिए, एक इंस्टीट्यूशन जिसके पैन इंडिया कोचिंग सेंटर्स हैं, उसका एक डायरेक्टर जो फाइट करने को रेडी है, बट उसकी आवाज को जब दबाया जा सकता है, तो इंडिया में किसी भी आवाज को किसी भी हद तक दबाया जा सकता है. क्यों? क्योंकि यहाँ पे एनटीए 100% गलती है. एनटीए की वजह से ही आप देखिए, देयर वाज अ टाइम व्हेन माय एल्डर ब्रदर हु इज 8 years elder to me, he is fighting for a राजस्थान प्री इंजीनियरिंग टेस्ट. प्री इंजीनियरिंग टेस्ट के सिलेक्शन में लोगों को 2-2 साल ड्रॉप लेना पड़ता था. आई हैव सीन दैट टाइम. 600+ नीट में यूजी में नंबर लाना इज अ वेरी बिग डील. 650 पे ऑल इंडिया रैंक 1 आ जाता था बिफोर द फॉर्मेशन ऑफ एनटीए, जब ऑल इंडिया प्री मेडिकल टेस्ट हुआ करता था. और अभी आप देख लीजिए पिछले 4 साल का ट्रैक रिकॉर्ड उठा के, पहले एक बच्चे को 720 आता है, फिर 4 बच्चों को 720 आते हैं, फिर हर साल ये फिर एक रूटीन चालू हो जाता है. और इस साल तो इन्होंने आउट ऑफ द बॉक्स रिकॉर्ड ही तोड़ दिए इन्होंने, जस्ट लाइक किंग कोहली. ठीक है कि है ना, 67 स्टूडेंट्स रिसीव्ड 720 नंबर. 719 नंबर कैसे आ रहे हैं, कोई कैलकुलेशन का आइडिया ही नहीं है. नो बडी हैज आंसर टू दैट क्वेश्चन. 718 कैसे आ रहे हैं, किसी के पास आंसर नहीं. तो हु इज गोइंग टू आंसर दिस? सो प्रॉब्लम राइज इन द दिस एनटीए ओनली, इफ अगर नीट की बात करें. दैट फ्रॉम माय साइड. थैंक यू सर.
ठीक है, थैंक यू अंकित for sharing your views. Anybody else wants to please, this is a, we are taking in the audience to come in and share their viewpoints. Happy to take more.
So I agree that the problem lies with NT and the way the test is being conducted. But at the same time, I also feel that we do need a centralized test. To go back to state-wise tests, I mean, for a child to take so many different tests, that is just not the right method also. So we definitely need a centralized test, but we need a better body to conduct it. It has to be organized in a much more, and we need to use technology. And we are still functioning in some God knows which era. Who conducts these kinds of exams anymore? So I think that is more important than trying to, I mean, so NDA, yes, it's a problem, it's corrupt, but there are a lot of other issues.
Perfect. Johnson ji, over to you.
Uh,
Thank you, Sapna.
Yeah, thanks. Wonderful points. I am not currently involved into direct coaching, but I've been tracking this. So I put some of my points, but I can just share about a minute from my experience with NCRT. We've been trying to just get, I'm just a little different, but you understand the system, trying to just get one book for grade 7 for social science. And we've been involved with other things. The challenge between some people who have been running it as the old method and some who want a simpler method is like a crazy street fight if you don't believe. Now, that is where I'm saying is we will probably put our minds together. The government is very good at it. And we will probably create another system. We will have a renaming other than NTA. But in a couple of years, someone will find the hack to that. So I just believe we have a immediate problem to bring credibility to a central testing system. That's an immediate need, no doubt about it. If we could achieve something like a SAT, amazing. I mean, God be praised for what we have. But in the longer run, we forget that India is too large a country to have centralized professional education. The main need it addresses is people who may be transferable jobs, people who were in the military like us, my children, where they would go, things like that. But I think there is some merit in looking at multiple solutions. And so The point here is in TOC, while those who are more expert can address the immediate problem of children who are to do, can we look at bringing back the onus on public education? Because even when we say career counseling, my fear is, are we saying, agar aap privileged nahi ho, to aapke liye engineering or medicine nahi hai? Because that is also a possible interpretation of when we say career counseling. I know it's not the meaning. So we need to be careful of all our solutions, what are long term, and if we can bring our things together uh, to do something, improvement in immediate and long term, I'll be very happy for anything which is related to education where I can provide help. Let's not think the problem is simple. We should not fall into the trap of simplification like everyone needs, while there is an immediate challenge and problem. Because no system, when I gave IIT entrance in 82, there were problems what Jitin sir is telling even then. So 40 years later, nothing drastically changes. The methods have changed. And the cost of earning by a private institute is one of the keys along with many others. So just my quick thoughts.
Thank you, Johnson ji. Thank you so much. Priyanka, you want to go ahead? Raise your hand. And meanwhile, I've just put a poll up. We'll have a group sense of how many people are in favor of a centralized testing agency. And so if you can do that, answer that, just take a 10 seconds and answer that poll. But Priyanka, over to you.
Yeah, hi everyone. So, just a quick thought from my end. So, yes, we know there is a problem. Yes, we know it needs to be addressed. So, I would just share one instance that I had to witness when I was working as a full-time special educator. So I had a gifted child, but the child could score very well, but the family was not that privileged to send the child to a organization wherein the child's potential could have been used at its max. So there was a career counselor whom I had passed on, and lately, after say 8 years, I could hear the child went to IIT, but then he is conducting his own business. So I understood that as a career counselor, if I direct the child to a particular stream or field, and I know that the child can change spheres or the arenas in which the child can work, what we as career counselors would do to the families, or what kind of guidance can we provide, as in for the children who are not there with a handsome fee to provide to the private institution. So this is a burning issue which I sometimes face, because I'm associated with a couple of NGOs also, wherein I at times get stuck over this. So I would like some inputs from TOC over this. Thank you.
So Ankur, I have this thing I just wanted to
Please go ahead,
share.
Jitin ji.
Yeah. So Priyanka, pretty valid point. So in the last couple of years, a lot of stuff has been happening, and we have seen people stepping forward also. So this is, I think, 3 years back, and one of my friends who's helping the Hero Group, he called me up and he says, Jitin, Hero Group is ready to finance 50 students who are studying at top colleges. Initially, he said Delhi University only, though later on they expanded and they included a couple of others. And they said this criteria, I mean, their returns of parents should be so much, and if they're eligible, then we want. And somehow he said, I'm not getting those numbers. I need 50 people, and he said in 2 days. Somehow there was a deadline. I know a couple of principals, so I shot it to Hansraj, LSR, Kamla Nehru, and two other principals. And by the next day, they had 75 applications, and then they started shortlisting and they built up. So just sharing that, like Hero Group every year does it. So they support almost 100 odd students. Maybe they have increased now. This year I somehow didn't get in touch with them. So similarly, there are bodies which have been helping out students, uh, uh, people who are coming from a certain socioeconomic background, and they are supporting. That is one. The government has the National Scholarship Portal, which all of us can look at. See, somehow the government doesn't, I would say, popularize its portal. Like even for studying, Swayam portal is there.
Yes.
We help, and in fact, I would like to invite other TOC members also. So we have a tie-up with this CEC, So that is under UGC. So there are channels being run, and even NIOS. So NIOS director's daughter is with us, and NIOS caters to more than 7 lakh students. 7 lakh students do 10th or 12th class from NIOS, which is an open school board. So NIS also has channels which they run, which reaches out to, like, I don't know, massive population. So CEC is a government funded, it's under UGC. CEC Vyas, if you look at, you'll get it. So we are supposed to send one career counselor every week to them. Every Thursday it happens. In fact, if any of you are interested, I'll be very happy to send you. We can formulate which areas, and I propose that anybody can just shoot a message to me. I'll be happy to forward it and I'll organize it. So yeah, coming back. So there are scholarship portals run by the government. SC, ST, OBC, the ministry also offers a lot of scholarships. So if you go on there, there's a very senior IAS officer. Earlier, Siraj Hussain Saab used to be there, so we used to interact with him. So a senior who looks after all of this. And for them, again, there's I would say, large amount of money available. There are some people like Jamia Hamdard. They would train students from not so well off families. They would train them on IAS preparation free of charge, staying free of charge, and so on. So Jamia Hamdard, and even AME also, Aligarh Muslim University. So yeah.
I'll just add to what Jitin sir is saying. We recently been working with the Ministry of Consulting, Ministry of Tribal Affairs, and Ministry of Social Justice, and they provide scholarships not only for their fee structure and universities, as sir was saying, but also for the preparation of these, big exams. Like they fund their complete coaching. In fact, I know some players, including Pace, which have been in talks with these ministries to provide IIT and NEET coaching to them, and it is all being subsidized, either directly funded by the government, or there are multiple CSR arms of big corporations, including Tata, Coal India, Mumbai Port Trust, Cochin Port Trust, and Petroleum and Natural Gas in Ministry, SAIL, and so on and so forth. So those options are being given, but then again, what are they doing is they are putting a band-aid on on a wound which doesn't want to get healed. So like systemic problems still exist. The systemic problem in my mind is there is a lack of resources. I'll just add a little bit of in 2017 I came across this one of the opportunities to send kids abroad for medical, and Ukraine at that time, some 100 kilometers from Kyiv, there was this very very prestigious college, Igor, something like that. And out of 100 seats, they would hardly be able to fill 10 or 15 seats from the local population, and they wanted students. So it was a win-win. Like good students we identify from India and send them over there, and very good arrangement. In India, it is the opposite. Now the government has been increasing the number of seats every year. For the past 5 years, you will see around 10,000 seats per year. Okay, hisab se they are increasing seats, but that is still not enough. Till the time there is a market for it, there is a mafia for it, because they will cater to the demand which exists. I know I have mentees who are in their final years of BDS or their final years of MBBS. They don't want to be doctors, and the parents are like, "Acha, theek hai, so what do we do now? Okay, can we go for MPH? Can we go for some dermatology course that then we will open a small clinic for her or him somewhere so that they can earn their livelihood." If we don't change the attitude of parents, the demand exists.
And Saurabh,
Yes.
like MBA, that's why MBA sells. Everyone thinks that MBA is a, what do you call it, like a paras pathar. You
Yeah.
touch it, my child will turn to gold. Though I can guarantee that if I go to Greater Noida and look at 42 institutions which are existing there, maybe the average salary received would be 15,000 if they get a job, 15,000 per month after MBA. Yeah. So it's such a sad, and I'm not talking about institutions in Agra, Moradabad, and all the places. There are MBA institutes everywhere. There are engineering colleges everywhere. And why? Because the parental this thing is there, that the parent doesn't know beyond it.
True.
So that's a challenge.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
So unless and until we provide that awareness, we provide the actual, what is the quality of an average Indian doctor? Like, do we have a census of doing that? Any way of getting that? Because there are doctors who have opened up clinics in remote, small areas, and then there are doctors who are working at Medanta. What is the comparison of quality? Where are they coming from? Are they coming from those paid corrupt seats? Are they coming from those meritorious seats? Like, do we have any way of gauging that? Now, there was a question, there was a suggestion by Sapna ma'am, I think. The challenge in national testing and state testing is not that it is the curriculum is different. The curriculum is still the same. The basics are still the same. Taking a test requires certain preparation. All of us understand that. Now, can we supplement our education for high school students in 9, 10th, 11th, 12th with that extra so that they are prepared for their entrance examinations? We all know a lot of private schools across the country have direct tie-ups with JEE NEET preparatory bodies, right? It is included in their fee structure that you come here and this brand is, providing you this. Why? Because they also realize our school teachers cannot teach that. Our curriculum is very different. Now, is there a way of putting that together? And then you bring everyone at the same level so a centralized test, national level test can actually work. Because unless and until you bring everyone at the same level, curriculum wise, the central test will still be unequal for some people.
So I think the same thing is done in China also, where for the testing. First of all, yeah, somebody remarked that how's the China thing done? Oh, they do it as if there was a war. So it will happen for 9 hours over 2 days, and they would stop everything. I mean, offices would be closed, traffic would be closed. There will be metro trains running only for students. There'll be thousands of, some tens of thousands of volunteers across who will manage that test. So it is kind of, it is like a war, because 13 million people, imagine, are taking a test of 9 hours. That's how the Chinese do it, and of course they also have their own set of issues and problems. But then over a period of time, they've been able to sustain it and do it really well. In India, however, it probably becomes a case of greed that there would be people, even if somebody is honest. So I don't know in the system how many people will be able to refuse. Let's say if you're offered 10 crores, 20 crores, 30 crores. Yeah, it is not, it is very easy to say that, yeah, people should be honest and government should take it. But how many people will refuse if somebody is offered 20 crore rupees upfront? Just imagine that.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Jitinji. I mean, Sapna, you wanted to say something. You had your hand raised. If you want to.
I changed my mind. I
Perfect.
realized the foolishness of my own proposition. So
So,
I was proposing that so this has been a big grouse of mine that school education is becoming kind of unnecessary with all these exams that are coming in. So you have the JEE preparation, NEET, CUET, CLAT. Literally, there's no reason to be in school anymore. NCRT is useless. So probably if they can, you do the NCRT exam with the one, improve the standard of the curriculum, and then take kids directly. I mean, have another section. If you want to do engineering, this is your additional exam that you need to take. If you want to do medicine, this is the additional exam that you need to take. Let the kids give those exams within the schools. Make it part of your 12th board exercise. So just make this one whole thing, and the child stays inside, does everything here. Why do you need another whole parallel system for doing this? So if the board itself conducts an engineering additional, a law additional, aptitude tests, medicine additional aptitude test, design aptitude test, all of that within the board exam setup, we are done. A management aptitude test, whatever you want to do, just do it right here.
So absolutely, because initially, and somebody had asked this also. So initially, when like these exams started, so CBSE was conducting the exam for engineering and medical, you know. So that is why, and also CBSE expanded very fast, and compared to, let's say, boards like ICSE, I'm a ICSE ISC pass out. So comparatively, CBSE kept on expanding, and they had these exams also, so people also kept on joining. So there was also truth in that because you're CBSE, so you know the pattern, you know this, you know that. Though people from any other, like a lot of my batchmates competed long time back for CPMT and other medical entrance exams, AIPMT and so on. So that time, yes, this happened. And coming now, in fact, we had discussions with CBSE also. So they are also looking at this seriously. But again, the challenge is one standardization across boards. So in India, there
So
are so many
that's why I
diversities.
put my hand down, because it is going to be a challenge, right? But supposing we think of aptitude tests, so a centralized body creates aptitude tests, and they are administered through whichever board. Every child is taking some board, right? Whether it's a state board or central board, ICSC, CBSE, whichever board. That board will also administer that aptitude test along with whatever exam they're taking. So the
Uh,
aptitude test is centralized. It is administered through the boards. But because the content, then the board will be forced to evolve its content to match the aptitude test, because they are the ones who are conducting both. So it's not a separate exam that all other boards have to take. It's that same test which is being conducted via the board itself. But it's very foolish because every board has exams on different days and there's a lot of problems.
also see, one major issue why all these bodies have issue problems is typically you'll find bureaucrats who are finalizing everything. It is not academicians,
Yeah.
so wherever we go. So CBSE launched SGAI a couple of years back. This was a some S something global aptitude test, which was for career counseling. Yeah, you know how many people took the first time, first test, and they were charging 100 rupees for it per student. I remember more than a lakh of people took that test. Schools, so we also got together quickly, and this is, I don't know, 14, 13, I don't remember exact, 12 years back. School counselors called us, and we organized a counselors meet on how to analyze the test. Like for an aptitude test, you would have a key to analyze. You would have, validity, reliability, which would be shared with counselors. Nothing was shared. There was a test, there was an OMR sheet, and that's it. So when the results came in, schools invited people like me कि आप आके समझा दो. I said, but
Yeah.
I have not made. But still, I had to do I would say a jugaad where I would understand, okay, this is the mean value. So this is mechanical ability is high, and I have been using aptitude tests for last 20 years with various schools and institutions. So uh, so we had to, we had to guide, even though CBSE was doing it. When I checked up that who was the person who was doing it, so it was nothing against them, but some admin officer who was made in charge, because somewhere some senior IS had a dream कि यार सारा CBSE should do aptitude test, and he gave a diktat and people fell in line, and this admin officer took surprisingly counselors who were psychology people but not having any background in career counseling. Yeah, I exactly know who were there, and they had no zero background in career counseling, and they took them on their panel, and somehow they made a test, and it was done very quickly for whatever. Next year also it was done. The numbers increased to 2 lakh plus. We were happy that at least somebody is talking about career counseling. I'm talking of 14, 15 years back. Not many people used to talk about it. I
This is
still feel,
2012, 2013. I'll just add to what sir is saying.
oh yeah,
We encountered the same. And actually, there was this big IIT JEE Prep Institute also, which launched a similar test at 100 rupees at the same time in the Dehradun market. All right. And what they were doing was you take CBSE test also, you take our test also. Our test, we will tell you whether to do JEE or NEET. And CBSE test might tell you more, but there is nobody to interpret the test. Even today on NCERT website, there is a test available free of cost with the booklet, with the manual that the teachers can use to conduct it. If you want, I can send you the link. I have the test with me. The when I had recently talked to one of the bureaucrats at the ministry, and they were like, the NCERT already has a test. UNICEF has a WhatsApp chat buddy for you, wherein they can tell you what government jobs are available for you. All right. And so why should we go for private players altogether? I said, please go ahead and use these tests and then tell me the efficacy of it. And then tell me if something comes out, if there is more confusion or less confusion, and then let's work on it together. So these resources were there, but as Jitin sir said, we were very happy that at least career counseling is getting recognized.
I mean, at least by if you are doing good works, and ultimately people come around कि हाँ, these guys are good, honest guys. So it somehow increases our presence, whatever. But of course, what Sapna you were sharing has this thing that, yeah, if there can be, if somehow internally it can be done, because all the schools, and sometimes I also have to say, I have to tell the student that, hey, it is not your 12th class marks, but CUET which will get you admission. It is not your 12th class marks, but CLAT or NIFT exam or HM exam. So the focus of students on 12th class marks eventually will move from there to testing. So and there doesn't seem to be a solution in place. And though CUET you are still supposed to do the same domain areas, you will still choose the subject you are studying in 11th and 12th. Sorry, 12th. Uh, but students still will be lured by private coaching institutes and other parties, or some schools might set up coaching within the school, which actually is not allowed under the CBC bylaws, but nevertheless it happens. So there is some, I would say, no immediate solution inside there.
Perfect. One last question, Johnson ji, you are waiting for some time now. Go
No,
ahead.
I probably will just take a minute. An ideal answer was there when some of us in our younger age were operating with professors and ships from Russia, where in the heyday of communist, at around 11, 12, 13, the student will be administered a mandatory state-driven psychometric, and the student had no option and they were put in that line. That is the so-called very communist-based ideal and opportunity. Obviously, we are not going to go on to that. But on the other hand, what Sapna very hesitantly put, I think there is a very core merit in it. The actual ideal is, and I call it the Amritkal ideal, where student will only appear at one exam at the end of 12th. By the time 10 years ago, my son and my daughters were appearing, I had to keep track about 13 or 14 entrances that they had to appear. The aim of NTA was to try and bring it down to one or two. But can we have that the board, and it is very nice, whether it's a state board, whether it's a centralized board, if that itself is reformed in a manner, it will not take a year or two, it will take probably a decade. And that mark is all that you need with whatever kind of aptitude. Now, this won't change today. We will face some government-driven answers of NTA today. But in the long run, if we don't enhance the overall education and just land up into one SAT equivalent or one something equivalent for, or some aptitude test equivalent, we may find it difficult. So my recommendation to strengthen the education system to the degree we can, and rest we will have to play along with whatever is available in the ecosystem.
Thank you, Johnson ji. I think, we are also run out of time. We're almost 10 minutes over it. But just to sum it up, the sentiment that I heard, the poll that we ran, I think almost 90% of us are in favor of, if you take this cohort, of having a centralized testing agency, just not NTA. I think that's the larger sentiment, that NTA needs reforms and we need larger accountability from people that are organizing that entrance examination. Multiple examinations are a strain. Personally, in my own capacity, I also, we also didn't touch that, but Tamil Nadu, that article was also mentioning, has always been opposing NEET, and for there are various reasons to that, but one of the major strong reasons is that they believe that students from rural backgrounds do not have access to coaching centers and all that thing. And Sapna also raised it nicely, like, what is the relevance of schools for students if you are not going to ask? I have also struggled with the same question as she
Just
said.
to add, Ankur, I just spent the morning with a group of rural girls in an NGO. There are about 100 girls in the room, right? And one of the questions, of course, and what do you want to become? And it's always going to be doctor will always be one. None of these girls can afford any kind of coaching. They're barely able to go to school. They're barely able. They're fighting to just be allowed to go to school, right? How are they ever going to go to a coaching institute and get anything extra?
Yeah. No,
Go on.
that's a valid problem. And I also face, the entire coaching industry. My eyes opened 1 year back. I went to one of the leading coaching center just for the heck of it, to understand the whole business. And they were asking me almost a crore to have a run a franchisee in my own town. And I'm like, what are you trying to sell
But
me? And you're
the
selling me
other thing is, there's no point bashing the coaching industry. It exists because we've allowed it and we've created it.
that's where I'm
There's
coming
a
to.
reason for it to exist. It's
That's
serving
where
a purpose.
just to complete that sentence. And then that is where he told me that the coaching industry works in close uh, association with the powers to be, and they know in advance, 2 years in advance, that this is going to happen. This is the national examination that will come, and this is where you should start planning for already. And I was shocked to hear that. And I was like, as an outsider, I never believed that there is such close nexus between. And what Jatinji was saying was very right. I mean, if you are offered 10 crore, 20 crore, I mean, it's very easy to say, okay, then, you should be honest. But that's and the other party has an upper hand, and you have a power play. And if the easier route is take the money and stay shut, I mean, most of the time people do that. And I mean, that's a problem that exists in our country, and we should realize and work towards finding solutions to. I mean, one of the articles I was reading online about this subject was UPSC also hosts an IAS exam every year. And the integrity of that exam has never been, I mean, the last many years, never been questioned. I mean, how is UPSC able to do that and not NTA? And there are larger questions. I mean, again, another debate can open there. But there are, and as Ram Gopal, I mean, BITS Pilani director also mentioned in his post, there are other entrance examinations. JEE happens without any much debate these days. But I think we have to have a centralized exam, but with much larger control and checks and balances of how it is happening. Yeah. So that's my two thoughts. I mean, my closing remarks. Thank you so much for everybody who joined in. I hope we were able to answer some questions and find some answers, and we could just share amongst ourselves what we are feeling as a group. And if there are even one idea that you took away from this conversation and probably apply it in your own workspace, or your own business or counseling, whatever it is, I hope this was relevant. Thank you so much, Saurabh ji and Jitin ji, for leading this conversation for all of us, and sharing your perspective. Thank you to all of you who participated, and also all of you who contributed to this conversation. I mean, I can see on my screen Sapna, Johnson, Ankit, Priyanka was there. Thank you so much, everybody. I mean, this was just a effort and initiative to bring the community together and just share what we are feeling. So thank you so much for doing that. Have a lovely weekend and a great evening ahead. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.